Thanks, Bakari. We're so glad you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time. And as you know, the QualLab Lunch Series is a series that Bakari and I put together for the whole year with different fantastic speakers to really just have a conversation about qualitative research, learn a skill, or just also what we do is we take the videos and provide them on the website. So you'll have access to this later as well. Bakari's going to put this up in the slideshow view so that you can see it. And we're going to just move to the housekeeping slide, please. So we're going to have microphones off, but videos on if you want. It's optional. And then because it's a small group, which is what we love about these events, our unapologetic series is next week, and we have, you know, between 500 and 800 people that show up. So we usually keep the videos off for that. But for this, it really should just be a conversation. And so feel free to put your questions in the chat, and Bakari will share them with Rhodesia at the end or during. And if you want, just turn off or turn on your mic, and then feel free to ask the question. Of course, we're going to record it and keep it on the website, as I mentioned, and then let us know if you need closed captioning. And we have resources on our website, so always check that out. So the outline is welcome and housekeeping. In a second, Bakari, who's the QualLab GRA, is going to introduce our guest speaker, and then Rhodesia is going to really talk about NVivo, give you a quick introduction. It might go a little bit longer, and that's totally fine. If we do questions in between, we can just free flow it however you want to run it, Rhodesia, but we want to make sure to have an opportunity for you to ask and answer questions, and then we'll wrap up at the end, and then if we have time for breakout rooms, but it's a small group, so we probably will keep you all here. So on to the next slide. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Bakari. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pasquay. So I'm going to be introducing our speaker for this afternoon with our QualLab lunch talk, and that is Dr. Rhodesia McMillan. She is a postdoctoral scholar of educational policy in the Educational Studies Department and a nationally certified school psychologist. She received her PhD from the University of Missouri, Columbia, after consecutive careers of being an autism teacher and a school psychologist. McMillan joined The Ohio State University in the autumn of 2019. Her research interest utilizes critical methodologies and theories. She's an interdisciplinary scholar whose research bridges K-12 education reform law, educational policy, elementary and secondary educational governance, special education law, and sociology. Dr. McMillan's primary scholarship investigates how federal, state, and local education policies impact the educational experiences of students of color and students with disabilities, as well as the ways in which educational disparities persist in K-12 public education. Please help me welcome Dr. Rhodesia McMillan.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and please feel free to, I know this is like, that's why it's called lunch series, because, so please eat your lunch, drink your tea, drink your coffee, whatever. I am really excited to be here. Thank you all for having me. I'm also excited to introduce to you some of my favorite software, which is NVivo. NVivo is very near and dear to me. NVivo got me through my doc program, through my dissertation, all 19,000 pages. And it is getting me through some really great some research that that I'm doing now. And if you all are available next Monday, as Dr. Pasquay said, I will be doing my research job talk, and you can hear more about my research there. But for our time together, we're going to just talk specifically about NVivo. What is NVivo? How helpful is NVivo to you as a qualitative researcher? And I'm hoping to just walk you through NVivo and introduce and explain some essential features. And I'm hoping to maybe demonstrate, how to upload some documents for you, maybe answer some questions that might streamline, that might help streamline either your data analysis or even your literature review. So let's get started. So if you're taking notes, I'm going to start. I am the host. Okay. So if you're taking notes, the first thing that you're going to have to know about NVivo is that the interface is going to be different for Mac and PC. So that's the first thing. I had to learn that the hard way. I was finishing up my training, becoming an expert in NVivo, and I had to dual train on both PC and Mac. So that's the first thing you should know. While the functionalities are the same, just keep in mind that interfaces are going to be different between PC and Mac. And just in the comment section, how many of you, like, are you PC, Mac? How many Mackers do we have in the okay. Okay. Okay, about half and half. And so, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind that when you start a project, and what you can do is you can start a project in PC and transition it to Mac, just as an FYI, but it's a little difficult to start in Mac and transition over to PC. So, so keep that in mind. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And let's see. All right. Okay. So I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to open up NVivo. I'm going to, I already created the project. It's called QualLab Demo, but it's an empty project. I'm going to walk you through it. All right. So when we are here, NVivo essentially is going to be a software. It's a software rather that's designed for qualitative data analysis. And NVivo is to the qualitative researcher what SPSS or Stata might be to the quantitative researcher. And so using NVivo is very easy, and the software is very user-friendly. So the first thing that you should keep in mind is that when you're going to be using NVivo, I'm going to show you how to upload your data, and I'm going to show you all the different features. I'm going to walk you through that. But the first thing I want you to keep in mind is that you should do some prep work to your data. And so by data, even if you have articles as part of your literature review, you want to make sure that it's organized in such a way that when you upload it, you're not confusing yourself and you're able to work through your documents in NVivo. And so the first thing that I would recommend, again, if you're taking notes, is to make sure that if your PDFs are going to be listed or named properly. You can also upload text documents. You can upload videos in NVivo. You can upload audio files, photos, social media posts, and even emails from Outlook, which I recently learned. And you can also import some literature or data from your reference system. So say, for example, if you use EndNote or Zotero or RefWorks, you can even import data actually from SPSS and Qualtrics. I have not done that just yet because I haven't had any projects recently in SPSS. But if there's someone on the line who's a mixed methodologist and you want to try that out, I'd be more than happy to spend my summer with you walking through that. And so the second thing is, after you organize your data, as you organize your information, the second step is going to be to import. And after you import, you have tools available to aid in your exploration exploration and analysis of your data. And so keep in mind that NVivo does not interpret your data for you. That is your responsibility. You still have your methodological and theoretical framework in tow. You still have to have those in tow. NVivo will not analyze your data. That still remains your responsibility. So let's get started. So here under the tab data, right here, if you all can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is data. And so this is where you will house your various forms of data. And so it might be interviews, it might be photos, it might be, say if you wanted to start using NVivo to maybe expedite your literature review process. It might be some articles that you converted to PDFs. So what we're going to do here is, this is your data, and I'm going to walk you through the other tabs today. And so what you might want to do is, here on your left hand side is going to be your main categories. And what you might do here is, say you would right click, start a new folder, and say you want to house your articles. You can name that literature. And say you might have some videos that you might also want to upload. You can go ahead and organize that file and videos. And say you might also have some photos that you might want to include in your analysis that, again, because remember I said first step is you want to make sure you've already pre-organized your information, your data. And you can add a folder by right-clicking and what did I say, photos. Okay. Another way that you can add is you can create folders through the top level menu as well. But same thing with PC and Mac, you can just simply right-click and create, and you'll have a pop-up menu from there. So this tab here, this is called your code tab, and that's where you house your nodes in NVivo. And so in NVivo, nodes are essentially going to be your container that holds all of your codes and all of your stored folders. So think of nodes as a container that's going to hold like maybe all of your emerging themes, your emerging codes, okay? And so I will say again, if you're taking notes, a tip is that if you're working from a structured research design and you have like a priori codes, I would recommend that you go ahead and preload them as nodes. But if you're working in a more emergent way, you can create nodes as you comb through your data. And you can organize your nodes in such a way that you might have a broad or top level nodes, and then underneath them we call them child nodes. So say for example, in your a priori codes, and so some of the literature that I'm going to upload for you as an example today are going to be in the area of school closures. That's one issue that I research. And so one thing, maybe a top level code might be, why is this not clicking? Okay, sorry. And so a top level node might be maybe geography, right? And then maybe I might see in my data maybe some issues around urban renewal or something like that. And so these are some a priori codes or some things that I already know because I'm familiar with the context that I know is going to come up. And so when I'm coding my data, and I'm going to show you how to do that shortly, I can go ahead and organize them in those top level codes. Any questions so far?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So you have your notes tabs, excuse me, your notes tabs. You can keep notes here, memos. I love keeping memos. Say if you come across some data in your research and you don't really know how to code it, or you don't know what to think of it, you can always memo it and come back to it. You can make annotations, and I will show you all how to do that as well. And so your cases are definite, you can upload your cases. So a case might be, if I'm looking at school closures, I might be looking at school closures. If I'm doing a multi-case analysis, I might have a case of St. Louis. I might even have a Chicago case, or I might have a North Philadelphia case. And you can separate it that way. Or if I'm just focusing on St. Louis, I might divide, instead of just having St. Louis, I might divide it maybe like the northern St. Louis versus South St. Louis or something of that nature. All right, so again, let's go back to uploading our data. And when I say data, you can use the same, you can take the same approach to uploading your research articles that you're going to use maybe as part of your literature review. If you're using NVivo for a literature review, you can still go about the same process if you're uploading data that you're going to code. Because essentially, if you're using NVivo for a literature review, you're still going to code the literature, because what you're going to do is you're pulling out themes and you're seeing similarities across the research articles in order to write a comprehensive literature review. And so it's going to be important again that they're already in PDF or text format. And trust me, it's going to make your life easier, because you want to make sure that your data is searchable. Because the various reference software. And let me ask you this: how many of you use EndNote or Zotero? What do you all usually use? Zotero. Okay, I use Zotero, and I don't want to use anything else because I have like hundreds and hundreds of articles. Okay, Mendeley, I see some Mendeley going on. All right, okay, cool. So let's see. I'm not going to demonstrate how to upload from EndNote or Zotero, but what I will do is I'm quite sure that many of you have a folder on your PC or on your Mac that has our research articles, PDF files in them. So I think that is the baseline we're going to start with. So, all right, so let me show you if I want to do some, say if I want to do a literature review, I'm working with Dr. Pasquet on a literature review on school closures. And we want to look at some of the themes that's coming across the articles. So the first thing I'm going to do is, after I've organized it, I'm going to upload. And so you can upload, you can go here and go through PDFs. And it already took me to my earlier screen that I was looking, but you can search through your files. And say I might want all of these articles here. I'm going to import that into NVivo, and it might take a quick second. And here are my articles. Now, once I have a fair amount of articles loaded into NVivo, I am ready to delve deeper into the literature. And again, I'm kind of showing you an example of how you would use NVivo to kind of expedite your literature review, but also keep in mind that, you know, this is the same process that you're going to use if you had transcribed the interview with some participants, and you're reading through the transcripts, and you would just have a file in terms of your data that might say interviews, okay? Now remember, you still have to read the articles. This is important to remember because you want to make sure that the article is in fact relevant to your project. And so now that my articles have been imported, and if you move this over, if you're working, NVivo has a feature where you can work in a collaborative way with team members, and it'll let you know who it's been created by and who it was uploaded by and all of that good stuff. And so I like that. It also tells you the date it was created on. And so you can keep track of what's being done in that research project if you're working with multiple people on the same project. So again, now that my articles are imported, and because I have some familiarity with the literature, I sort of know the type of key or buzzwords regarding the area in which I'm researching. And right now we're talking about school closures. And so What I might want to do is here, you can go to Explore, and you can create a mind map or a concept map. The difference between the mind map and the concept map is going to be, what I found is different in terms of what I view as maybe my conceptual framework versus my methodological framework. And so if I'm having a conceptual map, and maybe if I want to explore issues around protests of school closures, then what I might want to do is I might want to create a concept map. And as you can see, it keeps popping up here, and you can close all of these. This is a little confusing. This might be a little too much. But let me show you how to explore your data really quickly. So when we go to query in this ribbon tab here, you can do a text search, or you can do a word frequency search. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to do a word frequency search. And so here I want to let's say I want to run a query on African Americans, excuse me. So the first thing I want to do, let me show you. The selected items I want to run a query on is I want to look at all of my data. And so I'm going to go through my files. If I had interviews, I would select interviews. If I want, because we're doing the literature, I want to do a word frequency search on all of my literature reviews, because I want to see if this word or if these words are appearing across all of my, my literature. So you select that, okay? And say I might want to items in a selected folder. You go back here, you make sure that your literature review, that your literature is selected here. And what it's going to do is, with minimum word length, say if I want big words, so let's say maybe go with 5 letters or something like that. I'm going to say run query. And it's going to tell me what words are mentioned across the literature and the frequency of it. So quite naturally, we're going to see schools, students, closures, and it gives you also the weighted percentage of how often those words are mentioned. And so, but if I wanted to do more of a, let me come here, a search, say if I wanted to go with African American. Exact word. Again, you want to make sure that the data that you want to search through is selected. And you want to go to files, literature, make sure all of these are selected. And again, you don't have to search, say if you wanted to just look at the green articles and see, you know, what the consistency across green's work. You can deselect all of these and just select green. But I want to look across all of them. And you want to run the query. And what it does, it tells me that in my Garnett article, Gordon, Green, and Shaw, that they're going to mention they're going to mention the word African American or the phrase African American. And if I click reference, here what it tells me is it's going to give you the summary of the sentence, or it's going to give you the exact reference rather of where that word is mentioned in that particular article. And this is the same process you would use if you were searching through your transcripts, from interviews. Say if you gave your graduate student a task of transcribing, and it's been a while since you interviewed the people and you wanted to do some quick word frequencies or text search, you can do the same process. And so what it does is it tells you exactly what's mentioned. And so here we're talking about African-American tenured teachers. And say if this is a little, say this might be a little vague, this right here. So what I can do is I can click on, I can click on this article, and it will take me, it will highlight exactly where it's mentioned. So I know exactly where to go in that article and read it exactly the way it wants to. And what I might do here is school closures were overwhelmingly, it's not working, sorry. Okay, it's not highlighting. All right. Say if I wanted to go ahead and code, what I would do is I would highlight the phrase in that article, right click, code selection. And so here is where you can either add an existing nodes or codes, or an existing node, or add a new case. And so we haven't created cases. I'm not going to take you there just yet, but a new node, say I might say disparate treatment or something like that. And so when I think about that, because when I look at this data saying school closures are overwhelmingly African American, so that's going to tell me now that maybe in my literature review, that what I'm going to read or what I'm going to extract from my literature review is that school closures is probably going to be more urbanized, and it's probably going to be associated more, and if we read more, in predominantly Black neighborhoods. So that's an example. If I wanted to get out of this, I can simply go back to my unsaved query, and I can go back and look at the other references. Any questions so far? Okay, no questions. All right, so the next thing we might do is, let's see. Say if you have some photos. Anyone on the call works with multimodal data?
Can you define multimodal for the group?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I just thought I'd ask.
So multimodal might be, say, if your data is not just interviewing individuals. So your data might be artwork, your data might be photos, your data might be, say it might be, in my line of work, a potential source of data or mode of data. It might be flyers during political season, during election season. And so that can be scanned in as a photo, and that can be a part of analysis. And so when we're talking about multimodal, we're talking, we're thinking outside the box of just basic crunching numbers or analyzing a transcript from an interview. And so even if individuals are, say, I haven't seen any examples, and Penny, maybe if you wanted to chime in, of how NVivo has maybe done merged with the GIS software. And I know that you can do some mapping, and I know that you can do some photos, but I haven't really seen anyone like merge it together. And so that might be an opportunity there. All right, so say if, let's see, I'm hoping to use photos. Okay, all right, and so is it Khadijah? And Susan, you have photos to incorporate images, photos, drawings. I will be using drawings. Okay, Linda. All right, so let me show you all how to do that. All right, so we've kind of go through the query ribbon tab. Again, you can do your word frequency, you can do your text search. Your text search, you can also exclude words. You can also make sure that you can create a word tree. A reference, let me go back and show you actually. Let me show you. So this is your reference list, and I don't know if, So because I'm on my my slow computer, this word, if we were on a PC for whatever reason, it would show instead of me having to click on it. But what it will essentially do, it will have African American in the middle, and all of these branches, if you will simply be these same references here. It's just a different form of aesthetics. It's just a different way of visualizing your data. And of course, this is just your summary. Another word, say for example, well, I don't have to do another word for you. Let's go to photos. All right, so data. Say if I wanted to upload some photos, some images that I've already scanned. Because again, I've already pre-organized my data, and this is a research project I've been working on. I already have a folder on my PC or on my Mac about them. So these are school closure images, and say I want all of these images. I want to look at all of them. And while that's uploading, if you notice, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. And so I uploaded these photos in the literature the literature file. So you can simply drag and drop into video. You can do that, or you can do a, I'm sorry, I did not put them in. I put them in videos. They should have been in photos. Sorry about that. All right. So I have so much going on, you all. Please forgive me.
No worries.
Okay. So say if I wanted to write an article about the aesthetics of protests, school closures, or something like that. And that's just something I made off the top of my head. This is not something formal. Say I might look at, this is St. Louis, I believe. St. Louis is actually in the process of closing more schools, FYI. So say if I didn't want to focus on, can I move this? I'm trying to see if I can share on a bigger, excuse me, I want to share on a bigger screen. Here we go. Is that better? Is that better?
I think it's about the same for me, but the picture is taking up the space in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so say if you wanted to analyze some drawings of your students, even if you were in physical therapy, occupational therapist, and you wanted to talk about trying to be a little interdisciplinary here, you wanted to talk about 7-year-olds' development of cursive writing. And you could scan in writing samples, and it could be a photo. And so say if you want to look at how they curl their L's or whatever. And in this case, we're talking about maybe the physicality of protest. And if we notice here in this photo, we see someone, with their fist up. So this might be interesting to me. And so what I would do is I will code this selection. I will right click and code this selection, and maybe, what I might, add a new case, I'm sorry, a new node. Let me go back. Say I might, that the fist in the air is largely associated with Black power. And so say if I wanted to look at, this particular the physicality of school closures across domains or across cases, I might want to look at specifically maybe this motion, and say we might call it Black power. So we know that it's really the fist in the air that came out of that movement. Okay, that's a way that you can look at your data or code your data. Now, say if we go to this photo here, We don't really see that, but say if I wanted to go, is this gonna come up? Say if I want to look at abandoned buildings or something like that, you could code this area as abandoned building or, but if I had, say if I had another photo, I'm gonna go here and I'm just going to code like the sky as Black power, just to show you an example of how you can go back through your data. I'm gonna code at Black power. What it's gonna do here, I go to my codes and notice that right now, I haven't really coded anything based upon my A-power codes of maybe geography and urban renewal just yet, but I had some emerging codes and those emerging codes were Black power. So say if I wanted to look at how that was done, it'll give me a summary. It'll tell me the location of that photo. And then what it's gonna do is gonna show just the clip of what I captured, a clip of what I captured, and how this might translate in maybe a presentation or a publication. If you were to find a journal that did like multimodal publications, is that you might create a collage of all of these the snippets of these photos and together and show the same shared emotion across cities or across individuals or across cases or something like that. Now, what we can do is because we organized our codes before we got into, before we uploaded our data. So what we might want to do now is let's see if we can go through the data that actually reflects some of our A-power codes. So if we go back to photos, and say this map of Chicago that I've already labeled because I found it. This is, here, the redder is gonna be more poverty level. And so say if I wanted to clip this area, I would still code selection. I will code at an existing node because we already created that, and say that might fall under, I'm sorry, it might fall under geo. And that's what I'm going to select, sorry. Make selection, click, select. Why is it not? No, it should. What did I do wrong? Existing node cases, it should be here. Oh, okay, I see what I did wrong. So here's the opportunity for you to learn when you do something wrong. And so what you wanna do is I think it's a subfolder that you have to create. And so it might be photos. I think I'm doing, let's see now if I can code this. Let me start over. I don't know why. Okay, so I don't know what's going on. Penny, you know this is what I did wrong? I don't know.
No, I'm not understanding why it's giving you a folder and not letting you actually code the node, because it's finding it as a node.
I don't know. So, but what we can do is here, until we figure that out, what I will reselect is I will reselect the part of the photo. And I will code selection, and I might just create a new node.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will call that geo. Now, the crazy part about it is I don't know why it wouldn't, I don't know what happened there, but I will have to figure that out. Okay, so and the same here for, say if I want to go back to the photo that I found online. And I wanted to, I forget what you call this from the ceiling, not shrapnel, but I would create a new case, I would create a new node and just call this
Debris?
debris.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Shout it out if you know it.
And you created that. And so essentially what you do is you go through your data and you continue to code, and your data again can be a photo or a video, or say if you're doing it as a literature review, you can go back through and say if I wanted to go, if I wanted to do a query again, and say if I notice in some of these photos of the protests, and I wanted to do a text search to see which part of, which articles in my literature database might have mentioned protests. And so what I would go back to this text search, and I would type in the word protest, and you will make sure that you're going to select that from your literature. And then you might want to go here, make sure that you're selecting your literature again so that you're not pulling information from other sources. And then here you want to select run query. And that gives you the summary. Summary gives you, and then we select reference. Okay, and so we have an article called Disrupting Peace, Provoking Conflict Stories of School Closings. And obviously they're going to talk about protests here. And so what I might want to do, I go here and it will highlight, NVivo will highlight the words here, and something's going on. My computer's moving really, really slow. Well, that's a lot of data. Let's go with it. And I will right click and say if I wanted to, I created a new node at protests, and then that will be included. Now, say for example, if I wanted to go back and look at this here, and I wanted to code this as protest as well, I can do that. So you can still code, you can code a photo, a video, or a document under the same node. Because say if you were maybe doing some triangulation and you wanted to talk about protests, you can talk about protests in, in a visual way, also in your literature, and then maybe in another area for individuals who are concerned about maybe triangulation. And if you go back to your codes here, your nodes, and we go to protests and you double click, it's gonna highlight everything in my data that I identify as protests. And so that was the text from earlier, and then that was part of the photo. And
Rhodesia, I should mention Linda had commented about dragging pieces into the folder of the codes in the comment box. So I just want to mention that.
Okay, so what was the question? I'm sorry.
It was just when we were trying to understand what went wrong in that one section, she was offering. Oh
yes, you can. Yes, you can definitely. Yes, you can definitely drag. But I was so. It should have been made available on a right click, and so perhaps I didn't do anything wrong. My recent work with NVivo, I've been focusing most of my training on the PC because some of the features, the functionality is the same, but the features are different in PC and Mac. PC has everything. It's just that it's not that Mac is inept. It's just that I think QSR hasn't figured out a good pocket for functionality with PC. So, all right, questions.
Could you show a word cloud for Black Power, or how you might do a frequency, run a frequency count and then show a word cloud? Maybe with the frequency count of what, I think you ran a frequency count earlier and it had all your literature and this wonderful frequency count of all words that are mentioned more often or less often. And then you can actually do a word cloud so you can see visually how your data kind of gets together in these kind of themes, I would say. Anyway, yeah, any word cloud that you want to put together, I just thought
No,
absolutely interesting.
So if we go here, and I will items and selected folders. I'll just make sure I have the proper folder.
But actually, only if you use word clouds.
Yeah, you run the. I want to do the. Let's do the top 50 most frequent across all literature database. And so this is my summary, and this is going to be my word cloud. And here in your gallery, NVivo gives you an opportunity to, you know, to change the aesthetics, and you can shift it here. And so the words that are largest are going to be the words with the most density across the literature review. So quite naturally, because we're talking about school closures, the word school and schools are going to be your most popular. But even if we were to look at this word cloud, and I did a word frequency search across all of the literature, it's very interesting that, you know, we see like words like city, right? We see words like Chicago, okay? And we see a lot of 2012 and 2013. And so what that might say, as you're maybe doing your literature review, is already we can kind of make some assumptions when you look at this and say, okay, so these are the top 50 words across 25 articles. Then it's safe to assume that perhaps these school closures are going to be occurring in very urban areas, right? Seeing this word cloud and seeing the density, that these words are going to, that these school closures may have peaked at about 2012, 2013, as well as even the word community. And 2014, and we see and 2016, as well as urban policy. And so those are just some, you know, just an emergent way to look at your literature, especially say, for example, if you're invited to serve on a big grant, and maybe they pulled you in because you have a very specific focus on maybe a discrimination in a specific area, but maybe the grant is much bigger and they want you to hone in. And so say if you're not familiar with the area, you could easily pull in the literature that you're using and just do like a frequency search, do a word cloud to gain some familiarity with what the literature is saying.
So we have a question from Linda regarding if you have a document, you're writing notes in a document, you turn the document into a PDF, will that affect NVivo's ability to create a word cloud, or does that impact the word cloud if it's a PDF document?
No, as long as the PDF is searchable, you're good.
Okay.
And you have a tendency to write on your paper copies of the articles. And so, so I have not had a situation, Linda, where I wrote on like the PDF and maybe scanned it and it picked up my writing, but I can't remember which article, but I've made notes on articles electronically, like in the PDF. And it also picks up my notes. my electronic, but you know, I type them into the PDF. So I know I was kind of like all over the place. I wanted you all to at least get some working knowledge of NVivo. NVivo is actually very easy to use. You can always go on their website. If you have more questions, you can always go reach out to anyone in the QualLab, Penny or myself, if you have other like more deeper questions regarding NVivo. But in my experience, you know, most people they just want to know the simple things, and I got through my dissertation really just knowing like surface level things, and it was really transformative. So next time we do this, we're going to do this on the PC, Penny.
Yes, right. Do you all have questions for Rhodesia about this, about her research? Please feel free to ask questions. And I know we have a few minutes left.
I have one question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this software, and it looks like it's going to cost me $700 to purchase it. So is there anything else that we could use that's similar, or any
Did you
kind
say
of
700?
Yeah, 700.
Okay, so are you affiliated with the university?
Yeah, but I checked too. Texas A&M doesn't have that affiliation with NVivo also.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know if you have any other alternatives, or because I'm a poor PhD student.
I don't know why I'm muted. Okay, so what I know here, you're not poor, you're just in between. You're in between blessings. And so, but we, I know here at OSU is $75 for a 12-month license. Here for a 12-month license. And NVivo does have some other pricey features, like a collaboration cost several $100s. But as a student, and if your university, you're saying you're in Texas?
Yeah, Texas A&M. Yeah, and I just checked their website. They don't have anything.
Yeah, they don't have it. But if you go on NVivo's website, you can have a trial period. You have a trial period for 7 days, and you can go about it that route. Now, NVivo, hold on, NVivo should have, and maybe Bakar, you might help me with the link. NVivo is like $100 for students. You just have to provide, like if you buy it through their website. If you buy it through the website, it's a 12-month license, and it's like $99, $100.
Okay, thank you, because I didn't want to transfer over to OSU. So thank you so much for that.
Well, we would love to have you, but I'm sure people at Texas A&M want to keep you.
Oh, like OSU is the way to go. It's the way to go. And so, but no, I think it's $100. Even on there, even if you buy it directly from NVivo, a student license, I don't think it's any more than $150. Let me stop sharing since we're done. And
you have a question from Susan, and also I think Linda.
Okay, hey Linda, Susan, whoever wants to go first.
Linda, do you want to go first?
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm just full of questions because I'm new to NVivo, and I think you had on your screen it was NVivo 12. So if you go to the website, that'll be the latest version, correct?
Correct.
And is there a way that you have a link to the website someone could type in the chat so I can explore, because I don't know if my college similarly has an affiliation or some sort of discount with NVivo. I'm over at Manhattanville with another colleague of mine, Sally. Hi, Sally. She's on this call also.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen again so you all can see.
Linda.
Can you see what I'm seeing?
And I think
And so say if you're a student and you're purchasing for individual use, this is on NVivo's, this is QRSinternational.com. And I click student and individual use and say your operating software system is a Windows. And you don't need to do the transcription is really helpful if you're going to have a lot of videos, if you're going to be working with a lot of individuals. It's really good. But see, your subtotal is $99. And then you just press buy now. Okay. So you can purchase. So, you know, $75 here at OSU, you know, 16 more dollars than that. Yeah.
Does the student membership have a finite amount of time? I think
it's 12 months.
Great. Okay, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Susan? And I know Susan is with a couple of qualitative research students with her. So please, Susan, go ahead.
Yes, yeah. Linda, Sally, Boncha, I've seen their names in the house. So shout out Manhattanville Doc students. One thing was that I just wanted to echo, Rhodesia, something you said at the beginning of your presentation, is while this is parallel to an SPSS, on the flip side, you underscored how essential it is that you bring your own analytic process to it. I was just on an advising call this morning with a student who's using NVivo, and he's getting really excited about all of the powerful tools that are in there, but it's actually taking him away from like what his lens is as he sees like word clouds or, you know, how to build cases. And so I just wanted to underscore that students remember to bring their process and keep in mind their lens, because some of the risk is you could end up getting excited about word counts, but maybe that's not methodologically where you are, right? Yeah,
exactly. And one thing that if I say my methodological framework, methodological and theoretical framework for my dissertation is critical discourse analysis. So I double dipped. I use it both as a methodology and a theoretical framework. And so being familiar with Foucault and Fairclough and Vodic, I understand that critical discourse analysis is going to look at instances of power and instances of hegemony. And so, you know, if I was given access to discovery of a court case, and so that's why when I say 19,000 pages, you know, going through that, you're not going to read 19,000 pages. And so, you know, what I have to do is I have to look through the depositions and the subpoena, really the depositions for these types of words that's akin to my, you know, my framing. And that helps me, you know, at least get through the data. And so, you know, have and narrow it down. Exactly, Penny. And so if I can, when winnowing through that type of data, you have to, you know, you have to have, you know, some working knowledge of your methodology and your conceptual framework. And so even when I did that, what I did was, had just that process alone, I was still able to abstract about 600 pages. And then, okay, so now you can work through that a little bit better than 19,000 to see what that data is telling you and go from there. So you still have to be true to, you know, your methodology, because you can get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, that's great. I work in similar spaces, so thanks for that example. One other quick comment that you may be familiar with that I just learned when you were talking about sort of running the word clouds. Apparently there's a way to put a stop on some segments of text.
Yes.
So my student this morning has learned that he can block a whole stop on his segment of the transcript, so that then when he's running maybe a word cloud or frequency, it's not including all the stuff he said. And I thought that was helpful.
Yes, and so there's a feature in NVivo called like word stop. And so say if I'm searching school closures, I can just go in, and I don't want to, because I already know I'm researching school closures, so I want to eliminate those two words altogether, you know, and I really want to talk about, you know, the experience of it. And so, you know, there's a way that you can go in and preclude some of those words in your search. Mm-hmm. And so I think I would really like next time if we did like a project together. Because I work best with like actually working through a project. That's what I've learned in my experience of sharing NVivo, is that if I can demo a project versus like, you know, here's the ribbon, you know, here is. So yeah.
Well, we'll have to have you back to talk about your fascinating research and do a research presentation. I know you're doing one for the college on Monday, so
yeah,
thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone. Bakari has some info about our events. I also put it in the chat if we didn't have time to pop it up on the screen, but let's all thank Rhodesia, Dr. Rhodesia McMillan. And thank you so much for being here. Dr. McMillan, we're so glad to have you, and everyone. If you have other questions, see our website. And we will stick around just like in person. You can chit chat for a few minutes if you want to stick around, but we'll stop recording and then, you know, have a wonderful day. And we hope we see you next week at some of our events.
Please reach out to me if you all have questions. I work better with examples, and yeah.
Thank you so much. So